Happy New Year, everybody. It's 2024, January 1st, the first day of the new year. The app on my phone says it's 46 degrees or 47 degrees right now in Palm Springs. And I don't know if you guys have traditions, but one of my traditions each year at Christmas and also on New Year's Day is to take a walk. You know, I love to walk. I walk every day. I try to walk every day. And on Christmas Day and New Year's Day, I usually walk in the neighborhood that I grew up in. When I was born, my grandparents lived here in Palm Springs in this neighborhood. And now that I live just a couple of miles away from where they lived and where I spend all of my holidays and birthdays and every Christmas and New Year's, every summer vacation, almost every weekend, this is where I grew up. So I've been coming here to Palm Springs since I was in diapers, and hopefully I won't be in diapers again anytime soon, but you never know. You know, everything kind of goes full circle, you know, the circle of life. I got up this morning really early, as usual, 4 o'clock. We were in bed, Jim and I were in bed by 8 o'clock last night on New Year's Eve. How about you guys? Did you stay up to see the ball drop? We usually will watch it on TV. We'll watch the ball drop in New York at 9 o'clock, California time, and then we go to bed, but we didn't even stay up till 9 o'clock last night. I already walked once this morning with my neighbor, Jeff. We've been walking every morning around 6 o'clock before the sun comes up. I mean, it's completely dark and it doesn't get light until around 6:30. So we already walked a couple of miles around our neighborhood, which we do when we walk together. And I really worked up a sweat. I'm really warm. So even though it's only 46, 47 degrees out, I feel really hot. So I think I should be okay. I just put on my shorts for the second walk, and I'm going to try to get, for the first day of the year, I'm going to try to get in my 10,000 steps. So that's what I'm doing today. I'm doing my annual traditional walk up here in my grandparents' old neighborhood, my favorite neighborhood here in Palm Springs. And I'm also going to try to get in my 10,000 steps. And I'll show you a little bit of what the neighborhood looks like along the way. So I'm starting off at about 6,000 steps. So we'll see. I'm going to walk up to the top of the hill, almost the top where they lived. Isn't that a pretty house? Most of these homes here were custom homes, were built as custom homes. So it wasn't really built as a tract home neighborhood. These were just lots, and you would build your own home, or someone would build a spec home and then you would purchase it. My grandparents purchased their house here in I think it was 1965. It was brand new, really beautiful. Now it's considered a mid-century modern home. Back then it was just a modern home, a new home. It was, I just love that home so much. The whole side of the house, so it was up on the hill overlooking the city, so the whole back side of the house was all glass windows overlooking and sliding doors. Overlooking the city, so we would just sit out on the patio at night. You could see the planes taking off from the airport, and at night you could see all the lights. It was so beautiful, and the pool was like a level down, so you're overlooking the pool and the city. Really beautiful. So it looks like quite a few people are out walking this morning. As you can see, there are a few clouds, but not too bad. It's supposed to rain this week, and it's only supposed to get up, I think the high this week is supposed to be around 60 degrees. The one thing I always really loved about this neighborhood was all the boulders. Very rustic looking. All the cactus and just boulders. Every house has boulders in the yard usually. So the neighborhood's called Little Tuscany. I don't know if it had a name back then. I don't think it really had a name. I think it was called Little Chino Canyon or something way back then. But now it's called Little Tuscany. This is Racket Club Road. The famous Racket Club was just down the hill and about a mile or two from here. Very famous historic Racket Club. Yeah, my grandparents used to be members of the Racket Club back in the 1960s. I mean, the heyday, I think, was really like the 40s and 50s. See, their house kind of looked like that with all the windows in the back overlooking the city. And these windmills weren't here back then. These didn't start popping up until I think the 1980s. after my grandparents were gone, after they died. I think I've mentioned on this channel before, my grandfather used to love to hike and walk, and we used to hike through the hills here all the time. When I was a kid, me and my brothers, we would go with my grandfather and we'd hike over these boulders all the way up to the tram, to the base of the tramway, which was always a lot of fun, a lot of good memories. Everyone's out walking their dogs this morning, which is kind of nice. Back in the day, back in the 60s, I don't remember adults going out and walking for exercise. I don't think that was a thing back in the 60s. I don't know when that started, when people started walking for exercise, adults, you know. It was just, I don't remember. My grandparents never did that. My grandfather used to love to hike, walk and hike, you know, for adventure, but it wasn't for exercise or anything. When my grandparents lived here back in the 60s, almost none of these homes here on the right-hand side of the street were here. In fact, most of these streets, and the home that you see on the next street, that wasn't there. And this home here was just built about 10, 20 years ago. So over the years, you know, people have purchased, built homes here, custom homes, but most of these homes weren't here. They were just vacant lots available to buy and to build your own home. Isn't that cool? This was the last street up here at the top of the hill back in the day, and then over the last 10-20 years they've added on. They continued on up the street here, and this home I think has been here for about 20 years. Which is really nice. And then they added a neighborhood, a gated neighborhood. It's just this one street that we'll go to next, that we'll see next. And these homes were all built in the Mediterranean style on this street in this neighborhood, gated neighborhood. I'm sure it has an HOA. My grandparents' neighborhood doesn't have an HOA. And oh, this is interesting. It says, "This is not tramway. Go back to the stoplight and turn left." That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it does. The road that you take to get up to the tramway runs parallel to this, so I could see how people could get confused. And they might think that's the entrance. That's another new community up there. And I can see how people would get confused and think that was the entrance to the tram. So the tramway, I don't know if you can see down there, the visitor center. So that building right there is the entrance to well, that's actually the gas station. It used to be the gas station, now it's the visitor center. And that's the street that you take all the way up to the tram. And sometimes, I think I mentioned in another video, we would go along the tram road. We'd walk up there with my grandfather. We'd walk up to the tram. But most of the time we just hiked up over these boulders. It took longer, but it was a lot of fun. And I felt like a mountain goat as a kid. See all these boulders here? We would just hike. And now that I think back, my grandfather must have been like 65 years old. And it's kind of fun that he was hiking up on these boulders here with us kids to hike up to the tram. That's where I got my love of hiking and walking. View lots open for inspection. Desert Palisades. So Desert Palisades is the newest development. It's actually the last development. It stops right at the end here of the street of Racket Club, and then the whole neighborhood just goes on for like miles up there, and they're just empty lots, vacant lots for sale. All right, so this neighborhood is called Tuscany Heights. I don't know if you can see that sign. And these are Tuscan homes, Tuscan style homes. Isn't this pretty? Would you like to have a boulder in your front yard or your backyard? I know it's not for everyone, but I've always loved these boulders. I've always loved homes with boulders in the yards. And we have a very famous home downtown Palm Springs. If you look up right behind the museum is a mid-century modern home designed by architect Albert Fry, and it's built, the whole house is built around a boulder. So there's a boulder right in the middle of the living room. It's so cool. I don't know if you've ever seen it. If not, just Google it and you'll probably be able to see pictures. All right, so let's see. This is the entrance. Now, I came up here when they were building this and I walked around. I probably have film footage. I probably should see if I could find that and share that with you. Let me know if you'd like to see that before it was completely finished and gated. It's a very exclusive community. I think the homes probably start, I'm just guessing, they start at $1 million for the lots. At least $500,000. And then you just build your own custom home. Isn't that beautiful? Alright, so let's just zigzag. I'll walk back down and we'll zigzag through some of the streets. I'll show you some of the more interesting homes. I just checked my pedometer app and I've walked 1,000 steps from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill here. So walking back down, that'll be another 1,000, so that'll bring it, so I'm up to 7,000 now. That'll bring it to 8,000. If I zigzag back and forth around these other streets, I don't know if I'm going to get to 10,000 on this walk, but we'll see. It's really warm. The sun is up now. It's still only, it's not even 50 degrees yet, I don't think, but I don't know why I feel very warm. Maybe my weather app is wrong. Maybe the weather app is incorrect or hasn't caught up or anything with the actual temperature. I mean, I'm sure it's still pretty cool, but definitely doesn't feel like it's in the 40s. It feels like more like in the 60s. So do any of you still make resolutions, New Year's resolutions? I really stopped making New Year's resolutions years ago, but I thought maybe this year I would make a resolution. I've been saying for the longest time, for the last number of years, that something I really wanted to do. Oh wait, let me turn around and show you this house. I really like this house. It's pretty unique. There's so many different home styles here in this neighborhood, since you could build whatever you want. Pretty much. I mean, I'm sure you need to get permits and architectural permits and things, but I think style-wise, I think you can build whatever you want. Unfortunately, all the bushes have grown up so much you can't see much of the house. It's very organic looking. It's pretty cool. So what was I saying? I guess I was talking about making New Year's resolutions. So this year, I think I am going to make a New Year's resolution. My New Year's resolution is to visit and reconnect with as many friends and family members as I can this year. There are so many family members and friends who I haven't seen in years. And I've already made a couple of dates to get together with friends. One next week, actually, or I think, yeah, this weekend. I'm going to visit a friend who I haven't seen in over a decade. And I'm looking forward to that. That'll be fun. And I've also talked to a couple of cousins who I haven't seen in ages, and so we'll be getting together in the next month or two, and that'll be nice. A lot of modern homes here. Now this one I always liked. So on this street here, when I was a kid, this street was pretty much empty. All these homes were all these lots were vacant, except for this home. This one was here from like 1960, 1965. I always liked it. I always thought it was a really pretty cool house. I didn't realize I was zoomed in. But most of the other homes here lots were empty. This lot was definitely empty back in the day when I was growing up. This wasn't built, I think, until the 80s or 90s. I mean, I love how they've got the glass door and you can see all the way through the house. That's really cool. And I'm surprised that there are still quite a few vacant lots here. I wonder if people are selling them or they're just holding on to them. It seems odd to me that all these years later, these lots are still vacant. Yeah, if I had the money, I would definitely buy one of these lots and build a home here. Although at my age, I'd probably be dead before the house was finished being built, but I can't remember when that one was built. This one here on the corner, as we get a little closer, I'll show you. This was here when my grandparents' home was here. So the one on the corner, so there were only 2 or 3 homes here on this street when my grandparents were living here, and not that many more now. This one's always been kind of unique. They always have some interesting artwork and things in their yard. So this one on the corner, I always thought was kind of interesting. It had sort of an Asian motif. And then right across the way from this, there's so much growth here, it's hard to see. But right across the way, on the other side of all of these boulders and things, is another neighborhood. And this is where Elvis owned his home. I think that one with the white roof right there that you see, I think that's his home there. I can't see enough of it to know for sure, but pretty sure that was it. And so Elvis, that's the home he owned for 7 years. That's the home, he still owned that home when he died in 1977. And that's downtown Palm Springs that you see. And this was the view that we had from my grandparents' house. And let's see if I can zoom in and you can see the airport. Yeah, that's the tower at the airport there. And my grandfather used to love just sitting on the patio with his binoculars, watching the planes take off and land all day long, listening to his old-timey music, and so many good memories from those days. So this walk is definitely a trip down memory lane for me, and always very nostalgic and brings back so many good memories. And this home here on the corner was here too back in the 1960s, early 1960s, same time my grandparents moved here. That's kind of cute. I don't know what that is. It doesn't look like a roadrunner. We do have lots of roadrunners in this neighborhood. Now these two homes were here back then, and I always loved these homes. They've added a garage. Again, nobody had garages back then. They were all just carports. And the hedges, these are the front yards, but right behind the hedges are their swimming pools. So the house is up on a hill, and then it's like a couple of different levels, and you walk down to your pool. And so I always thought this was a cool home. Both of these were cool homes with their pools in the front yard. So that's very popular, very common here in Palm Springs to have your pool in the front yard. I always loved all of the stonework that they included on all the homes back then, or so many of the homes back in the 60s. This was very typical of the mid-century modern homes back then. And none of the homes on this side of the street were here. This was just all boulders. See what I mean about all the different styles of homes and architecture? This home was here back in the early 1960s. I don't know if it had the gate at the time. Probably not. There was absolutely, back then there just wasn't any crime that I ever remember hearing about, and nobody really locked their gates or even their doors most of the time. But I'm sure, that's how it was almost everywhere around the country back in the 60s. Things have changed a little bit since then, right? Okay, by zigzagging down just that one street down and back, that added another 1,000 steps, so I'm up to 8,000 steps. So if I do that, say 9, 10, if I just do one more street, that should definitely take me to 10,000 steps today. So I just thought it'd be fun to start off the new year with 10,000 steps. I usually walk about 5,000 steps a day on my walks, maybe 6,000 steps, and then I don't keep my phone with me. I don't have it attached to a belt or anything. I don't have anything to attach it to, and I just wear shorts around the house, and without a belt or anything, the phone would just pull my shorts down. I wouldn't have, I wouldn't be able to. I don't have any pockets to hold on to my phone, so I don't really know how many steps I get around the house, and I probably do get around 10,000 every day anyway, but I just don't know for sure. That's why I was thinking about getting a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that's just on my wrist. And then I just heard the other day that Apple Watch is no longer selling. Apple is no longer selling Apple Watches here in the US. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm gonna have to look that up and see. Now this street is even a little bit more rustic than the two streets above it. This is the third street down of the original streets, I guess the fifth street down from all the streets now. This home, I watched them building this about, I guess it's been 10 years ago now, 5-10 years. which is kind of nice. Yeah, look at that front yard. Definitely not the kind of front yard you see in many other parts of the country, right? Now, I haven't walked up here in a while, and it looks like there's a home being built down here at the end of this street. So let's go just take a look. I'm just curious. It's a dead-end street, so I don't usually walk down this street, but I'm just kind of curious to see. I always like looking at new homes being built. Now, that's a fun-looking carport, isn't it? Very tropical. Looks like you're maybe in a South Sea island or something. I don't remember if I've ever walked down this street or not. This definitely looks like it was built back in the 1960s, so this was probably here back in the time when my grandparents lived here, but I probably never walked down this street because it's a dead end. Okay, this looks like, I wonder if a home was here and they tore it down and they're just rebuilding, or if it was an empty lot and they're just building it now. It's kind of neat. Look at this. And so it looks like their pool, again, will be in their front yard instead of the backyard. Now, it's interesting because I didn't know there was a street here going parallel to the other street that I was just on. So, how weird. I mean, I've been walking this neighborhood for, well, since I was a kid. So, you know, for 60 years at least. And discovering something new. Another really cool home with a hedge around it, and here you can see Elvis's house very easily. So I was up there a few blocks up, and it's the one here with the terracotta roof, the white one with the terracotta roof. Let's see, right there. And you can see the fireplace. It used to have like a black silhouette of Elvis's face on it. Years ago, you may have seen some postcards with that on it. So it's just right on the other side of this, I don't know, is this a wash? I guess it's just some kind of a wash or something. Yeah, so I think that's also called Little Tuscany. I think it has the same name, and they just combine both of these neighborhoods as into one neighborhood. All right, so let's walk down. I'm going to walk down this street that I've never even seen before. Didn't know it was here. Okay, Little Tuscany via Livorno. I like these stainless steel gates here, or gate. And there's another vacant lot here, and the home right behind it was just built a couple of years ago. It's in the mid-century modern style, but of course it was built in 2021, 22. But that style, that mid-century modern style from back in the 50s and 60s is still very popular. It's interesting with this glass here. It's an interesting gate. Okay, there's a plane taking off from the airport. Let's see if we can zoom in on it. It's probably Alaska Airlines or something. I don't know if you can see it. I can hear it. I don't know if I can see it. Oh, there it is. I'm sure my grandfather would have known what plane that is. Or my brother Robert, who also loves planes and used to sit there on the patio with my grandfather and watch all the planes take off. Of course, now there are apps. My brother Robert told me there's apps where you can just look at the app and it'll tell you all the different planes that are taking off and landing from the airports. So that's kind of interesting. Would have made it a little bit easier for my grandfather to just look at an app if we had had cell phones back in the day, which we definitely did not. Quite a few decades before iPhones were invented and apps were invented. I just can't believe I never knew this street was here. It's always nice to learn new things and discover new things. That's why I like walking around different neighborhoods. You always see something new and different. Lots of interesting, fun things to see. So let me know if you like videos like this where I'm just walking around, taking my walks in different neighborhoods, and I'll just try different neighborhoods each week. I mean, I do this quite often anyway. I walk around our neighborhood just because it's easy. And when I'm walking with my neighbor Jeff, I mean, he just likes to walk in a flat area. He likes to, it's just easier to walk in our neighborhood, especially if we get up before the sun comes up. But once the sun comes up, especially in the winter when it's not too hot, it's kind of fun to just drive. I mean, Palm Springs is not that big. It's not that far to just take a short, drive a few miles to a different neighborhood and walk around and see different homes and just get a different feel for what the neighborhoods are like. So let me know if I get enough people who leave comments letting me know that you want to see more videos like this. I'll definitely start taking more walks this year. I mean, I walk every day, but I think this year I would like to start walking around in different neighborhoods, so I can just either do that and not film it, or if you'd like to see it, I can also film it and share it with you. So let me know in the comments. Alright, so this is a home that was just recently built, mid-century modern style, but it's a new home, a new modern home, and I think it's really beautiful. I like how it's kind of surrounded by all these boulders. Isn't that pretty cool? And these here, this is called brittle brush, and they have kind of an interesting smell. There's also lots of creosote. The creosote plant is just, it has such a nice smell. It always, especially after it rains, smells like the desert. And these are ocotillo. I love ocotillo. They don't have a smell that I know of. But look at these boulders. Wouldn't you love to have boulders like this in your front yard? Yeah, so these creosote, they get lots of flowers like this. I mean, it's a really interesting plant. But okay, so this is the creosote. Are any of you familiar with this? These are just everywhere here in the desert, and they smell so nice. And they live on almost no water. I mean, they can just live out in the middle of the desert. Oh, they smell so good. This is like one of my favorite plants as far as the smell. Well, I guess my favorite plant is probably rosemary, and I've got some of those planted in the yard. And my grandparents had rosemary planted in their yard. It was so neat. Now here's an older house that looks like it has not been remodeled or anything. I mean, you just have all kinds of things, all kinds of homes. Now, this looks more of a Spanish style or Spanish hacienda style, so this was probably here back in the 40s or 50s. I mean, I'm guessing. Now, you probably guess, because I talk so much on these walks and I stop and sightsee so much, these walks usually take me an hour to 2 hours to go. I mean, if I wasn't talking and filming, it would probably take me 20 minutes to take this walk, maybe a half hour, and it'd be a lot faster. But, I'm fine with taking longer, slower walks, because most of the time I do just walk around the neighborhood, and it's just a fast half hour to 45-minute walk, and maybe it's better exercise-wise, I don't know. But for me, I just think any walking is good, no matter what speed you're walking. I think if you're walking every day for a few miles, 2, 3, 4, 5 miles, I don't think it really matters. I mean, maybe it does, but I think for me, I'm fine with. Now, this is an interesting one. I saw them building this or like remodeling this for years. It looks like they finished it. It's kind of a different style. I've never seen a style like that here in the desert, but why not? Looks interesting. Yeah, so I'm just more about the walking, not about the speed. And I'm perfectly happy just to walk for an hour, 2 hours, even 3 hours sometimes. And maybe I'll only go, 5 miles, but I think that's still got to be pretty good for your exercise-wise, for your health and everything. I mean, it certainly can't hurt anything. Definitely did not need long pants, so I'm glad that I wore my short pants. I was going back and forth about whether I should wear my long pants or my short pants, so I'm glad that I opted for the short pants. It's January 1st, so my weather app says that it's 51 degrees right now, but I'm not the only one out here with shorts. The guy across the street walking his dog, he's got his shorts on. So I don't know why it would feel so warm at 51 degrees, but I just have a t-shirt on, and I have this sweatshirt, fairly light sweatshirt. That's all I've got on, and my shorts. So that's why I love Palm Springs, and that's why everybody loves Palm Springs, and why everyone moves to Palm Springs, because even on January 1st, our dead of winter is still pretty nice. Well, I was going to say I wanted to make a short video just to say Happy New Year, but you know, I don't know if I'm capable of making a short video. Really, I talk way too much to make a short video, especially on my walks. So thanks for joining me on this first day of the new year. I hope you all have a really wonderful, safe, happy, fun new year. I'm so glad we all made it for another year. Fingers crossed. Say a little prayer. Think positive thoughts that we all make it to the next new year. So thanks for joining me, everybody, and Happy New Year. Hey, look, some people are out not only walking but riding bicycles. That's always fun.